I've spoken at kind of all of these, thanks to Keith's prodding for people to come up here and do 10 talks. This year I picked a different topic than what I've been talking on in the past. So digital disruption is sort of a big marketing term people hear out there. So I want to kind of bring that back and how it's relevant for us as wireless LAN engineers. I have a pretty broad background. Sort of telecom, cellular, Wi-Fi, security, networking. So a little bit about me. I kind of want to start, make sure everyone's on the same page. We talk about what digital disruption is and why this is important, right? So for me, I really like the last quote, which is that digital disruption is a collision that is happening as consumers are embracing new technologies to make their lives easier. And the companies of all sizes are using new technologies to offer better experiences. There's a big focus on that in every vertical, right? We're always focusing on the clients and the end users and enabling them to do things and work the way that they want to work. So who's out there? Who are these disruptors, right? Well, we have a whole bunch of open source tools. We have software as a service that has made this relatively inexpensive for anyone with a really good idea to step up and do this, right? And the dangerous ones out there are also the ones that have the ability to actually stick with it and execute on it. And if we look at these common trends of what these people have, they're really focused on that customer, right? They're always trying to lower cost, right? Better, faster, cheaper, but also looking at things that are outside of what exists today and in sort of that adjacent space, right? So if I only had this piece, I could do so much more, right? So working with the end customers to figure that out. So the important question, right? Where do we fit in as wireless LAN engineers? Well, I'd say that now the wireless LAN is where your edge of a network, right, is meeting the business. In almost all cases, it's the predominant access layer, right? So as a wireless engineer, these are some of the things that I kind of highlighted that we need to know, right? So we need to understand our customers better than they know themselves, right? I think I liked Lee's presentation earlier talking about requirements. We really need to understand them and sort of anticipate what they're going to be asking for. We need to really understand our platforms, right? So all the training programs around, the CWNE programs, the Aruba, Cisco, whatever, right? We need to understand the platforms that we have and be the best technologists that we can be so that we understand where our systems are strong and where they're going to fail. And then really, also just being able to communicate that to the non-technical people that are important in our lives as engineers, right? And then lastly, identify opportunities for us to innovate. How can I always offer something better to my customer, right? And also identify where those risks are to my business. It's a little bit more on understanding the customer, right? So I define the customer as those who are consuming our services, right? So that may look different if you're a vendor, right? I'll use Lee's example again, ranting about bugs, right? Their customer is different than someone who works for a VAR or someone who works internally, right? So everyone's going to have their own definition of customer. But it's really, those people that are consuming those services, right? They may be internal to your company, they may be external, but really think holistically about who that customer base is. They really understand the behavior, right? So, Blake just finished talking about painting the spectrum. Understanding who they are, like, what kind of devices are we going to use? What are the use cases? Those are going to define all the parameters around how we're building these environments. And then I mentioned a little bit earlier, but being able to anticipate what that customer is asking for is super important. As a platform, right, so understanding the pros and cons of your solution, well beyond just the RF. I think as wireless LAN engineers, we talk a lot about RF. and it is important. But there's also all these other aspects, right? Security, manageability, interoperability, APIs, right? What can we integrate with? How do we integrate? And then also, I was glad to see someone stand up here and talk about cellular, right? When you talk about the whole space, it's not just wireless LAN. How many people are out there doing surveys and they're getting asked if, are this going to improve my cellular coverage, right? Well, there's Wi-Fi calling or whatever, but in that space, it's much bigger than just wireless LAN. So we need to, even though our focus might be wireless LAN, we still need to be aware of the other options that are out there. And then being able to articulate those requirements back up in a non-technical way. So I think this is the things that we need to be watching for on a regular basis, right? So everybody's seeing some sort of disruption. There's definitely areas they're seeing it more than others. We need to understand our people. We need to understand what we're looking for, where the risks are to our business, be able to communicate those upstream. And looking for those opportunities to improve and meet the needs of the business and our customers, right? I thought this last point that's in red here came out in a meeting I was having a couple weeks ago, which is, we're always focused on the success of our own business, but realize in certain industries, there's people out there that are looking to make you fail, right? You need to understand that so you can defend against it, right? And this becomes a big part of our role. So I just want to highlight a lot of things that we can do to keep current. Some of these, attend relevant conferences. We're already doing that, here. Staying up to date on the certs, building relationships with your peers. Someone was talking to me about EDU listserv that they have. There's a smaller group of a subset of the people that are here that share a lot of ideas. I think that's fantastic, right? Continue to read. That's something that me personally, I've tried, I find myself getting busy and I have been doing less reading of books. I read a lot of, online. I've been trying to address that myself and read more books, right? Continue to follow trends in that are in your own vertical and the ones that share similarities. If you're in healthcare, reading just about healthcare sometimes isn't enough, right? You should be looking to hospitality, for instance, right? One of the big focuses is, improving the life of a patient. Where can we learn a lot? In hospitality, right? So look not only to your own vertical, but to some adjacent ones. Demand more of your vendors, partners, et cetera, right? If you're on the end customer side, you're investing a lot in your vendors and your partners. Expect more back from them, right? Whether it's just, discussions or whatever, just, press them for that kind of stuff. Lab equipment, investing time. I love that, they're talking about a lending library of sorts for gear and be able to build a lab. I think it's a huge component of what we could do to do our jobs better, right? And then challenge yourself in new areas, right? I see a lot of people get focused on what they're doing and they get really good at it, but if someone throws a curve at them, they don't know what to do, right? So continue to sort of expand the breadth a bit. It's still important to stay focused, but it'll help you understand where your focus is a little bit better. So that's it. Thank you.